Continuing from the last movie with the between condition, let's take another example. This looks at a string. So we're looking at a category name between sports and urban, starting with a capital S and ending with a capital U. That's the primary search. Obviously, as you go further into the string, it does sort by alphabetical order. Now, the first thing I actually want to do is I want to pull the entire data set again, and it's not in alphabetical order because of the way that I put the data in, so I'm going to use an order by clause, which once again will be covered in a later movie. And as you can see, we have sports all the way through to urban, so we expect to find these 4 rows. Let's take this query, paste it into SQL Developer and run it. And here we have the exact rows that I expected to get. That's a string between condition. Now let's run this query, and this gives an interesting result. Why? Well, the reason why is because lowercase and uppercase actually sort differently. So what it's actually done is it's taken a capital S and gone to a capital U. Because RBAN is actually a greater value, as I said, lowercase sorts after uppercase, it won't actually find urban, because U lowercase RBAN is actually a greater value than urban all in uppercase. Doesn't find urban, but it finds everything that starts with a capital S that is actually greater than the value sports. Well, in this case, between, greater than, equal to. This value is actually greater than. It's not greater than or equal, so it is excluded. This is greater than or equal to. If I was to take this same example here, really what I'm showing you here is actually string sorting, how it sorts, which I have shown you a few times in this course. What I'm looking at here is BAN, and then I'm looking at uppercase. In this situation, we will actually get sports and urban. This value is greater than that value. This value is less than that value. That's a little lesson in string sorting. String sorting is interesting in a database because it has to decide the difference between lowercase and uppercase. Here's another interesting example with string sorting, which shows you something slightly different. I'm using a literal value from the dual table and joining them with unions. But essentially, this is the lowest value because uppercase is sorted first. This is the highest value because lowercase is sorted last. This one's in between because it has an uppercase but also lowercase in there. And I've sorted it, as you can see, at the end of the entire union. So what we get is uppercase, mixed case, and lowercase. That's an interesting little example with strings and sorting. Not to go off at too much of a tangent, but also important in Oracle, as you've seen before, is the way that quotes are used. So I can't do this in Oracle. Why? It should give me an error, but you can even see it in SQL Developer in that it's trying to reinterpret that quote character. So I have to do what's called escaping it, which for the Oracle string delimiter quote character is another string delimiter quote character right next to the first one. Now let's go and look at another string example. Here I'm actually concatenating strings using a special operator called a concatenation operator, which we've seen before, which takes one string and adds it to another, and I'm putting the double quotes in the double quotes and so on and so forth, and I'm hitting return. And now let's run this example. And we simply get a concatenation of strings with quotes in the output string, both escaped with a double quote. There's one more thing we need to look at with between. Not only can you do something like this, and this is very simple, but you can also do this, and it would be inclusive again. So if you pull this data, you will find, starting again, star from category, you find all the data with this one, you go down to here, you find the rows between 5 and 15. Similarly, if you do this, you find all the rows that are not between 5 and 15 inclusive. So you find 1, 2, 3, 4, break 16 to 34. That's the between clause. It's fairly simple. I've added a few other interesting tidbits in there that are very useful when writing Oracle SQL code.